What's up, everybody? Welcome back to How to Do It. I'm Jeremy. Thanks for stopping by. This week, we get to harvest Grandpa's grapes. But before we do that, I just want to thank the 8 new subscribers that I have since last I acknowledged that. I really appreciate you guys hitting the subscribe button. And welcome. So these are Grandpa's grapes. We call them Grandpa's grapes because they came from my wife's grandfather's house. I planted these in 2020. They didn't do too well, and then I planted them again in 2021, and they took. In 2022, they didn't bear any fruit, but they grew really well, especially the middle one and the one on the right. The left one, not so much, and we actually thought that it died and was hoping to maybe transplant a shoot over into that third spot. But last year it sprouted up and it grew a couple of feet. Last year was also the first year we actually got fruit. We got around 6 pounds of Concord grapes. This year we got way more than that, 3 times more than that. In fact, around a little over 18 pounds of grapes this year, which is awesome. We didn't cultivate these vines really at all. We trimmed them up here and there throughout the summer, but we don't trim them in the winter and lay them like professional grape growers do.
That's pretty good.
I agree. That is pretty good. So we are going to take you on a bit of a journey going from harvesting off the vine to ending up in a jar as grape jelly.
Oh, those are. Hold on a minute. I don't know what those are. Those aren't bumblebees. It's more like hornets.
No, but I was stoned before.
Nope. Wait. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'll fix it actually. It's one out of two.
Did they leave?
Yeah, those ones over there left, but they could have just gone down here. I don't know.
Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah, I see him.
He's like, don't take my grapes.
Well. Back up. Okay. You got this one here? How many times you
I've already done. Not in
Yeah.
I love you too.
Perfect.
What do you want to do?
You something?
Go over there. Go over there.
Where?
I got you right there.
Oh, no smoke. Is that the one?
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there. Oh, no, no.
Couple of them right there.
Here's one that'll come back.
Yeah. Well, you can watch this out.
And here we are. I fill the buckets up. I submerge them in water because, as you can see, there are some bugs, some spiders, earwigs. There was a stink bug in there. So yeah, once we remove as many bugs as possible, let them sit in the water for a little while. Then we drain them out, and then it starts the very long and tedious process of picking through all the good ones and the bad ones. We don't want anything green or immature, would make the jelly bitter. We also don't want anything that is like split open and rotten. So yeah, good times. And when I say 18 pounds of grapes, that right there, that bucket was 18 pounds. So minus all the stems and the grapes that we didn't keep. This is all the stuff that we didn't keep. I'll put a picture of the recipe on the screen. But overall, for 3.5 pounds of grapes, we're going to add 1 cup of water, 7 cups of white sugar, and then 1 3-ounce pouch of pectin. The recipe calls for liquid pectin, but we use powdered pectin, and you'll see that later in the video. But that is the basic recipe. So for every 3.5 pounds, you add half a cup of water and 7 cups of sugar. Each batch is said to make 8-ounce jars, but we found that each of our batches made around 10 8-ounce jars. So if you're going to follow this recipe, just prepare yourself. There might be a little bit more, there might be a little bit less. It just depends. Here my arm got tired, and we decided to break out the electric mixer. I added uh, enough water for 18 pounds of grapes. So after adding the water, you heat the whole mixture up, bring it to a boil, and then you simmer for around 10 minutes. And then you remove from heat and strain out the large pulp, all the skin and seeds and whatnot, hopefully. We end up kind of double straining this, so after we put it through a spaghetti strainer, and we put it through a small hold sieve, and then we press that to get even more juice out of that pulp. We thought about saving that pulp and running it through cheesecloths, but we had plenty of juice, so we just decided to throw that stuff away.
We can put this in a bowl.
Go night night. Lean back. Go night night.
And then once you've strained all this out for the first time, we're going to pop that in the fridge for up to 8 hours. So then after that mixture cools down overnight, pull it out, you run it through a cheesecloth, and you get rid of all of the fine particles. Alright, so the recipe says that 3.5 pounds of Concord grapes make about 4 cups of juice. So that's what we did. We measured out 4 cups of grape juice, and then we added 7 cups of white sugar.
One. Two. 3. 4. 5. 6. 11. 7.
So we're going to bring that mixture to a boil, and once it starts boiling, we're going to add the pectin. From our previous experience from last year, we're going to add just a little bit more pectin because the batches that we made last year were a little bit runny, and we did cook them longer than was recommended. And then you're gonna boil it's recommended to boil it for 1 minute, and then it should thicken up. But we honestly boiled it for around 10 minutes. We started checking at the 7-minute mark and found that it wasn't set up yet. It was still really runny. So then we cooked it for up to 10 minutes, I'm pretty sure. The next step is to, after you're done boiling, you take it off the heat, and then you want to scrape off the foam. As you can see here, I love the foam. It's really good.
I don't know why they tell you to scrape off the foam.
It's mainly for aesthetics. As you're going through the canning process, the food expands and contracts as it heats and cools. So having foam will just increase the amount of headspace in each jar. So here's the canning process. We're using 8-ounce jars. While we are making the jelly, we have our jars disinfecting. So there's a pot next to our jelly pot. That is boiling water. That is just a bunch of boiling water. And we have jars and lids in them to disinfect them. Recommend to boil them for up to 10 minutes. And then before putting the lids on, I am wiping the rims with distilled white vinegar. So after we get all of the lids on the jars, we're going to take them over to our bath here, and we're going to boil these for 5 minutes. Once that 5 minutes is up, we're going to pull them out, wrap them up in a towel, and let them cool off slowly. And as they cool off slowly, it'll create a vacuum sealing the jar. And then we repeat this process 4 more times. we ended up with 44 8-ounce jars of jelly and 1.5 16-ounce jars of jelly that we're just going to keep for ourselves. And that is it. Vine to jar Grandpa's grape jelly. I really appreciate you watching. If you're new, please think about hitting the subscribe button. Thanks again. I'll see you around.